How's it, everyone? Jacques, back with a little update on the motorcycle. As an owner, I said I'm committed in giving regular feedback and my thoughts on this motorcycle. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. But before we start, first motorcycle was or the first fuel combustion engine for a motorcycle was made in 1886 by two gentlemen, which the names may be known to you. So that's Mr. Daimler and Mr. Maybach. So if you don't know those names, Mercedes-Benz and the luxury brand Maybach today, those are the two people that started that company, Mercedes, but they did the first combustion motorcycle engine. So that's just a little bit of history, a quick one. Triumph is one of the older motorcycle manufacturers. They started in 1903. It's a British company, and their whole philosophy over the years has been to have a platform with the engine in. They would typically scale up the engines on the same platform, and that's how they build their range of motorcycles. So they were very successful during World War I. Motorcycles played a huge part in the military effort, and so after the war, motorcycles became incredibly popular with everybody. Veterans starting up clubs, bike clubs, gangs, and a lot of people went with motorcycles as a means of transport. Cars by then were available, but quite expensive. And so Triumph did well even after the Second World War, doing very well where a lot of the other motorcycle brands really struggled and closed down. So Triumph is the only motorcycle company that's really come back from the dead, and we'll talk about that, and made a huge improvement in how they do things. Hello. And so in the 1970s. So before we get there, as I say, Triumph kept upgrading the platforms, the engine sizes, coming up with range, and they've had many popular motorcycles, which you guys will know the names of, like the Bonneville, the Speed Twin, and so forth. So they were very successful with those motorcycles, but like many motorcycle manufacturers in the 60s and 70s, stopped really doing innovation, evolving those things. They would just take bits and pieces off the shelf, throw them together to create a motorcycle, and they suffered for that severely. And so Triumph essentially went bankrupt, and that title floated around until the 1980s when Mr. Bloor, I think, purchased the company, and his vision for the company was to go back to its roots, really build lightweight, fast machines. After the Second World War, I mean, it was one big, huge race for who had the fastest and quickest bike, and Triumph was always right up there. In any case, so he took 60 million rands of his own money, put it into the company to get it going. Sorry, $60 million to get the company going. And up until 2000, he actually put in a total of 100 million pounds into the company. And I'll get to that. So, as I said, he looked at Triumph's history, or I think he did, and understood that you need to keep innovating. So you can only innovate if you put the money up front, develop the motorcycles, make sure they fit for purpose, the build quality is there, they're reliable, and then take them to market and not take bits and pieces and build bikes. So that has worked incredibly well. So they started seeing a profit in 2000, and what they came to realize was they made twins, triples, and they had some four-cylinder motorcycles. But the four-cylinder motorcycles didn't do well. The Japanese market essentially owned that, but their triples did incredibly well, specifically the speed triple. And so eventually we'll get to this motorcycle. So Speed Triple was very famous for them, did very well, and so they evolved that platform all the way through. The original Speed Triple that came out, I can't remember the size of that. That evolved. The engine then evolved onto a similar platform which they modified, which became the Daytona, the 955i. I own one. They are fantastic motorcycles, and so the triple is really the thing, the triple engine that made Triumph well known. And so this beast, as you know, is a inline 3-cylinder with a 110 millimeter bore with a 89 millimeter stroke, so it's over square. It's 820 cc's per piston. That's how you get to the 2.5 liter engine. And this is one of my big frustrations with specifically journalists and people from the media that take specifically this motorcycle out for a quick ride and then have all kinds of opinions around the motorcycle, including handling. But I'll chat to that when we get there. I have some notes. I just want to make sure I'm covering at least the structure I wanted to cover. So yeah, there's a couple of new offerings Triumph is coming out with, if you guys are not aware. So they've always been in the retro bikes. It's a look and style that's done well for them, and they keep excelling it. And their sports bike and their naked sports bikes are also doing incredibly well. So what's coming up? They have gone and made a 250 off-road bike. And knowing Triumph, the racing heritage and how they approach things with development, I think that is going to be a title-winning machine. So, Jacques, how can you sit there and just say that off the bat? Well, I know that motorcycle has been developed in conjunction with Ricky Carmichael, and if you don't know Motocross or Ricky Carmichael, go and look up. Fantastic champion, and so he's been helping and instrumental in developing that 250 motorcycle. I'll see if I can put some sleep. Sneak footage of that in a link here, and you can go and view that. And they're also apparently looking at bringing out the electric motorcycle, EV. So who knows? I haven't got a lot of detail on that, but let's see how that goes. So the update on this motorcycle, I've had it now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months since end of April, I think. It's got 4,000 kilometers, 4,200 kilometers on the clock. It's still a fantastic motorcycle, very happy with it, and it's a motorcycle, as I said from the beginning, I always wanted one, and this one I'll definitely not sell. It's my last motorcycle. These things have become incredibly expensive, so won't have cash for a new one. So I want to quickly get to the handling. So these motorcycles, handling, if you listen to journalists or people that just ride them once off or a couple of times, state that the handling is okay but not great. So first of all, is the handling on this motorcycle is incredible. For its size, it is absolutely incredible, and if you are a competent rider, you will make most of the general public on their sports bike look silly. The GT comes with forward controls. You know, I've modified mine to put on mids. So with the forward controls, scraping the foot pegs, very, very easy, even at low speed. It's the simplest thing you can do. Moving them to mid mounts gives a whole, increases the clearances on the hardware a lot. Having said that, scraping the foot pegs on this bike is the easiest thing you can do. So it is a heavy motorcycle, so you need to use your entire body to get it going. So a lot of the guys are just pushing or trying to lean off the bike, and with a bike this size, those techniques are going to make it heavy and slow to turn. So you ride less like you would sit on a motocross bike, and the way you should be sitting on any motorcycle really, and that is with your legs really squashing or holding the frame and the tank in place. So the moment you start moving your weight is connected to your leg, and that's how you get to move the bike. Once it's turned in, this machine will stay in that lean position for a very long time, and that is based on the tire and the tire profile. So the rear tire has got a bit of a wider arch, and so it takes a bit more effort to get it over the tipping point, if I can put it that way. And I'll see if I'll do a quick close-up on the tire. So that's the rear tire, and the front tire has got a very V-shaped profile to it to enable lots of contact surface on the sides. So once you get the rear past that tipping point, it's really easy, and it's very, very stable, partly due to the weight of the motorcycle and the fantastic tires. Having said that, you need to set up your suspension if you're going to do aggressive riding. These motorcycles, I've said it in the previous video, the preload on the rear is right at the minimum, and that makes the bike poorly handling. Just by increasing the preload a lot will make this bike's handling characteristics change dramatically. And also if you dial in your suspension for your weight. So you will see I ride with a marker on my front fork. That's how far my fork travels down. So before I go out for a ride, I move it up, and then as the bike works, that will move down, and that gives me a good indication of what my suspension travel is. So by increasing the preload at the rear, the bike is not squatting down. It's my bike's essentially, I think, 2 or 3 degrees slightly forward onto the front wheel, which also helps improve front end grip. What else wanted to talk about? So I got the handling out of the way. It's a really fantastic handling bike. Fuel consumption, I drive sportingly, if I can put it that way. Oi, that is illegal. You can't do that. Must I report you? Come fetch it, put it in the bag. I've got this on video. You do not throw your garbage over the wall. The garden finish, rubbish. Come and collect it. How's this? We've got an empty stand here and the guy's mowing his lawn, so he just throws the cut grass into the empty stand. How's that? I really enjoy this motorcycle, drive it a lot. So the 1,000-kilometer service is quite an expensive one. It takes a lot of fuel, not just in the engine, but also the fuel that goes into the drive shaft. Not the fuel, the cooling, the oil that goes into the drive shaft. So that is all expensive stuff that adds up. Moreover, yesterday I checked my engine oil on the dipstick. As I say, it's now got about 3,200 kilometers on since the oil was changed. It's still nice golden color, translucent, so the engine internals is not wearing a lot. So that's fantastic. I know these engines essentially is made for 300 plus horsepower, so we'll see how that goes. So I've got some other videos and clips and stuff I maybe want to talk to, and I will add that in. We'll do a little bit of ride and then I'll combine the video and take out maybe some of my frustration I had here with some of our residents' behavior. So one comment, I know a gentleman said, Jacques, you drive and wear your suit quite nicely. Much appreciated for that. So I've got the Triumph riding gear. It's got the D30 armor in. This is the unisex pants. Like motorcycles, in my previous video you'd have seen I keep talking about customizing, setting the bike up to suit your arm length, your hands, the way things feel. I know a lot of folks struggle between second and first to find neutral. If you adjust your gear lever appropriately for your foot, you will not have that problem, and that's all motorcycles. Same with the travel and so forth, the suspension we've talked about. And what I want to get it as gear, so the pants fit. I couldn't find a jacket in this range that fits me well. I've got large chest, small waist, so I ended actually up going with a ladies jacket because that fits me quite well, and that's what you need. If you buy gear, it must fit well. It must be appropriate and protect you. So we'll go out on a little ride. I'll combine things, add maybe some of the stuff I didn't get to, and cover it then. Thanks a lot. See you guys later.